Hoping yesterday's performance by the legendary Lester Piggott will draw punters back to the racetrack. Piggott thrilled the crowd with an all-the-way victory on board Sydney horse Zadok in the Black Opal Preview.
Canberra's weather couldn't have been better, drawing a healthy crowd of around 3,000 to the racecourse to catch a rare glimpse of a racing legend. Lester Piggott had never ridden a winner at Canberra before, but he was to make up for it with 2 victories, the most important being his ride on Zadok in the Black Opal Preview. The favourite started strongly from barrier 2 and never looked like being headed, the crowd applauding as one from around the 200 mark.
Zadok kicked away at the 200, out about 2 in front of Mount View, followed then by Silence Prevailed, but Lester Piggott and Zadok. Zadok is racing away in the Preview, and go Lester, and Zadok eased down on the line by a big space. Mount View second, Amarep third. Silence.
After more than 5,000 career wins, including 8 English derbies, 59-year-old Piggott took his latest victory in his stride. Everyone wanted to hear him say he would return for the Black Opal, a proposition he wasn't prepared to rule out.
I'm sure the club would love him to be back for the Black Opal, but I know he's got to go to Singapore tomorrow, and at this stage it's very doubtful, but the club would dearly love him to be back here for Sunday, March the 5th.
Even if Piggott doesn't return, he's already provided a valuable service to Canberra racing. His performance, along with the unprecedented 2 dead heats at yesterday's meeting, are just the ingredients the Canberra racing industry needs to draw the crowds back to the track.
The racing really needs something like that because it's going through a bit of a slump at the moment, but racing here in Canberra, we've got a couple of big meetings coming up. We've got the Black Opal in a couple of weeks, and 2 weeks after that we've got the Canberra Guineas, so we've got some great racing here coming up over the next month or so. Zadok's connections are waiting until later this week before deciding on whether to run him in the Black Opal, where he'll have the chance to match the records of Clan O'Sullivan and St Covert by taking out the Opal Double. Anthony Robertson, 10 News.
German tennis star Steffi.
Different kind now. I'm talking about 2 jewels of the Australian racing scene, Mick Dittman and Mahogany. They combined to win the Lightning Stakes at Flemington today. The Lee Friedman trained 4-year-old took on the champion sprinter Hariba in the Group 1 dash and came away with his reputation restored.
Mahogany hadn't raced since injuring his back in the Turnbull Stakes in October. Similarly, Mick Dittman had only recently returned from a spell, booting home a treble yesterday. But he and Mahogany's most ardent admirers must have doubted their chances of beating Hariba, which had recently earned comparisons with horses the calibre of Manicato and Vane. The odds-on favourite was unable to cross from the outside gate, and in the closing stages it was evident an upset was on the cards.
Hariba under a bit of pressure is tackled by Eleanor. Here comes Mahogany down the outside, and Keltrice is fighting on. Hariba beaten, and Mahogany on the outside coming at these leaders. Mahogany wins the Lightning. Mahogany wins it by a half-length. Eleanor, Keltrice third.
Last season's Horse of the Year was given a great ovation on returning to scale, with Dittman summing up the thoughts of everyone on dismounting.
He got a bit of class.
Good animal, isn't it?
When any race in the land.
To win a Lightning Stakes, you know, with the horse that's won 2 derbies, and to beat the best sprinters around, and you know, Hariba and that, he had to be the champion that he is, and he showed that today.
Surprisingly, trainer Ken Newman said the distance might have brought about Hariba's undoing.
I don't believe he is a 1,000-metre horse. I believe he's 1,200 metres plus. And if I had any doubt, as I say, that's all it would have been, yeah.
Great autumn ahead of us. Make sure you stay with us in this show because we have more racing a little later on. But now, sailing and the wild and woolly botany, Barry Floss and merry-go-rounds. Well, hardly what you'd expect as features of a race meeting, but that's the new image for Sunday racing at the Sydney Turf Club. The idea, of course, is to make the punter's passion a family pastime as well.
It's a sure bet some faces will always be trackside, but today a whole new crowd was stepping out. And while there was plenty of action on the track, thoroughbreds weren't the only horses going round.
Racing in the Rosehill Family Fun Day Stakes. Yes, there's plenty. Fairy floss and balloons, mini steam trains and plaster art as they move into their work. One's gone astray, but plenty of help out here. A couple clowning around, and yes, even hoeing into the ice cream.
For a long time, the racing industry's worried that it missed a generation of followers, and this is its latest attempt to attract a younger crowd. While guys like this are probably a little bit too young to be betting, the idea is that the younger you get them acquainted with horses, the better.
The whole idea of the day is to have racing more appealing to the entire family, and it's a very cheap form of entertainment.
Racing always seems to be for punters and gamblers, doesn't it? But now the STC is putting on the carnival atmosphere. It's attracting the kids. I don't know, she's out there somewhere.
Today's meeting drew more than 14,000 people, well above Saturday crowds and more than 3 times the midweek figures. The new image, family and fun.
I guess it makes it more enjoyable for you guys too to know your family's in the crowd.
Well, it does. You always see them leaning across the fence and he's going, hello, there's Daddy, so you're being a horse.
Where is Mummy, anyway? Updating that big baseball semi-final, we just got some scores in from...
Champion English jockey Lester Piggott could be back in Canberra in 2 weeks after riding the winner of the Prime Television Black Opal Preview yesterday. Piggott's win on Zadok was the highlight of the day, but 2 dead heats made it one to remember.
Only a small crowd turned out for the ACT Race Club's first feature meeting of the year, but they witnessed a slice of history.
King Groucho on the outside, getting to Birthday Kabila. Birthday Kabila, King Groucho, maybe Birthday Kabila.
The photo finish camera was unable to separate the two, but the day turned into a nightmare for race caller Tony Campbell.
It's Cook Bundoon Blue, the leader. Down the outside, Mr. Bullion is flying. They hit the line, maybe Cook Bundoon Blue.
Dead heats are rare enough, but officials can't recall 2 at the one meeting in Canberra. But it was the appearance of the legendary Lester Piggott riding in the Prime Television Black Opal Preview that grabbed all the attention. A $50,000 race for 2-year-olds, it was one of the most open of the event's 5-year history. Piggott was aboard Zadok and he led from the start.
Zadok kicked away at the 200, out about 2 in front of Mount View, followed then by Silence Prevailed, but Lester Piggott and Zadok. Zadok is racing away to win the preview, and go Lester, and Zadok eased down on the line by a big space. Mount View second, Amareb third.
The 59-year-old, who's ridden more than 5,000 winners, returned to a great ovation.
He recognises the best jockey the world has ever seen. Well, his record states that, you know, he's won 9 English derbies, which is something that'll never be achieved.
Piggott will head for Asia to ride next week, but if Zadok starts in Sunday week's Black Opal, he may be back.
I could come back in March, you know. I'm only going to Singapore for that meeting, really, you know.
Monday.